So the other day we got a title update logged in the database for PlayStation Network. We talked about that, theorized what it could be, with honestly some good changes looking to come with it, except they didn't. Today's update was around 2 gigabytes in size and not only didn't do what you may have anticipated or hoped it to do, but it also broke more things than it appeared to fix. Today we're covering what you need to know out of this update, what was broken so you're not feeling crazy if something feels off, and the likes. Drop your thoughts, drop a like, subscribe for more FPS coverage, or don't, that's fine too. But for now, let's get into what today's update changed. So things that were fixed, first, if you go to the patch note pages, if you go to the Black Ops 6 section, you may notice, well, there's nothing there. You'll notice that this is kind of the inverse of Thursday's update that we briefly covered last week. This update surprisingly didn't touch MP or Black Ops 6 at all with zombies, so no multiplayer or zombies changes, despite it all still being the same patch notes and same overarching umbrella for an update, but Warzone was what was up on deck with these fixes. For this update, it was mentioned that it fixed an issue where loading screens were causing instances of freezing or crashing. They fixed an issue with bullet trajectory on the AMR Mod 4 sniper. They fixed an issue in Resurgence where players are dying out of bounds and would lose functionality of their field upgrades and kill streaks. They fixed an issue where models weren't visible for ammo boxes, self-revives, and throwing knives, and fixed an issue where players would not have a death icon when dying in red light, green light. So, yeah. That's it. That's all that was changed with this update. The only substantial one, I think, being that fix to the issues where loading screens caused freezing and crashing. Legit, the only thing that I feel is noteworthy of a mention. Again, I believe. Yet yesterday, we talked about how many things were still known issues. Not even just like top level stuff of cheating, server stability, and all that, but things with like fixes scheduled on them for the Trello boards, meaning they're fixed and ready, they're just sitting there. Why are we holding those off until what seems like Season 2 at this point? We don't quite know. Things like finishing moves not killing, free-for-all scoreboards not accurately tracking, vermin attack bugs and zombies. They actually did change the care packages fix back to investigating, so at least that one I get not putting out, but there was also like 20 other things that we mentioned that have been slated for an early 2025 release here in January. Things like those audio inconsistencies, lighting and visibility concerns, keyboard and mouse functionality, irregular UAV behavior, discrepancies with contracts on TAC maps, and things that Raven have mentioned explicitly all the way back in December. Those types of things were not fixed with this as well. And again, it kind of looks like at this point, with only 2 weeks left until Season 2, we're not going to see those things fixed for another 2 weeks. But the crazy part with this update, usually you can expect 1 or 2 things to be broken, and as of recently, one of the big things was the sort of matchmaking seems to break every single time an update goes live, which is wild that it seems to only happen in this game rather than years prior, but we saw just about as many, if not more, if you're taking the gravity of these things into consideration, more things broken than were fixed out of this update. Matchmaking was, and as of recording this, still is broken. It's probably fixed by the time this video goes up just because of that delay in when I'm recording to when it's actually published, but players couldn't find a game at all. Zombies was unaffected, but multiplayer and Warzone could not find a game. You'd be searching for like 10-15 minutes and just to no avail. For a time, Resurgence playlists actually were not visible, making quads the only playable modes in the entirety of Warzone. Buy stations were inaccessible in ranked play. There are new under-the-map exploits that were introduced with this update. There's an inability to res teammates, so you have all this kind of stuff that actually makes that unplayable to a large degree of the game on offer. And again, this is something that's Warzone. This update focused mainly on Warzone, so that's where these problems are going to arise with broken updates. And for many, it may not affect you at all. Like, Warzone is not something that I personally play anymore. I'm burnt out on the BR formula. Been playing BRs since the original Arma mod days, so it's just not for me anymore. And for many others, you're probably the same. But it's packaged with Call of Duty and with Black Ops 6, and thus, we should talk about it. Just because a problem doesn't affect you or I doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, and doesn't mean that scrutiny shouldn't be placed, especially with an abysmal first season under Black Ops 6's umbrella thus far, having been this way since November. This update, for all intents and purposes, broke as much, again, maybe if not more, considering the gravity of the items affected, than it actually fixed. I personally had higher hopes for this update, as evidenced by last night's upload, since, you know, there's plenty of things that still need work, and strangely, again, things that have said they had fixes scheduled even. It appears that we won't have really anything substantial until Season 2's launch, and even that is a very tall task because we'd like to see and hope and assume that it's going to fix everything with nearly a month after the holidays to fix existing issues from all the way back with Season 1's first launch. But at this point, I'm so worn down by updates not doing what they should, so worn down by just being yelled at for just talking about the game despite wanting the same changes that people do want. I don't expect it to get much better. I'd love to be proven wrong, but I'm in this cynical state right now where it's just, everything's annoying. I guess fingers crossed that with only 2 weeks now until Season 2, we have some sort of communication that these pertinent issues are going to be addressed. Like, I want these fixes, but I also just want to know when they're coming, even if it's not this current update or from now until the end of the season. Like, I understand there's red tape, a lot of it when it's involved with a billion-dollar, trillion-dollar company like Activision and Microsoft, where everything has to go through multi-level processes. Like, messages have to climb the ladder from the studio work on the ground. Hey, we're aware of these issues, a fix is going to be coming. They have to go through studio comms channels, through then publisher legal teams, then through the official social teams to post them all. But like, when we have players screaming for 2 months straight, like, let us just know something. That, to me, if we're not going to get a patch, is the biggest priority. Said it a million times, I may not like the direction and pace at which things are happening, but if I'm able to at least understand why that is with transparency, I might still not like it as much, but at least I'll have that perspective and maybe understand a little bit. It just feels like a sense of urgency right now isn't quite there, and with the reports of Verdansk now being something that launches with Season 3 in April, I have kind of a genuine worry this is still going to be a massive work in progress to fix everything for the launch of that. Not before, and to have it ready, which is also something that I'd prefer because we've seen in the past, if you try and launch a massive air quote overhaul of some kind, plus a new map, historically speaking, it doesn't really go too well. So listen, this video on the update is simply because I've covered COD the last 13 years. It seems like every video I post of COD now, I have people saying, why aren't you talking about this? Or, wow, you're talking about this way too much, where it's so tiring, man. Like, that's the only reason we're talking about this today, is because it's news. I've talked about COD news for 13 years. This is what this channel was built on. It wasn't a good update. It hasn't been a good update. And personally, I'm over needing to have this discussion. Play the game or don't. I haven't been, because I feel like at this point, there needs to be more meaningful changes before I want to dive into grinding it out again. But more importantly, play what makes you happy and what you enjoy. There are so many titles out there in varying genres that to constantly play the same thing that you hate is just unhealthy and straight up not worth your time. And frankly, if you do want to see change, stop playing. Stop buying passes, microtransactions, you name it. Their revenues are going up year over year despite evidence of annual drop-off of player counts. It's okay to play other things and to not engage with media that you don't enjoy. So for the foreseeable future, we'll see how much COD is uploaded until Season 2, because frankly, it's exhausting trying to keep a level-headed approach here to share this information that I think is relevant, while also critiquing things that I think are needed to be critiqued, but also not just doing it over and over and making the same video screaming into the void. I've shared my criticisms in the past numerous times, relayed information to direct contacts I've been fortunate enough to make over the years, that anything that I can say, I've said. So I'm a shill if I'm not complaining. I'm a whiny bitch if I am. Can't win, so might as well not play. Expect to see some other FPS coverage here because my mental needs that reset, and frankly, there's nothing worth covering in COD currently anyway. So that's where we're going to wrap it up. Let me know your thoughts down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel for more FPS coverage, and I'll see you tomorrow or whenever the next video goes up. But for now, take care and peace.